Hey, I do not have anything to drink right now, unfortunately. Dinner is actually in a half an hour though, so I will probably be drinking water for that. But I can't show off my gay mug, so that's a little disappointing. But on a less disappointing note, actually no, it's just as disappointing. I learned something this week about myself. And what I learned is that I hate writing about myself. And I wouldn't even necessarily say that I hate writing in general. Like, it's not just the aspect of writing. It's like specifically when it's like, hey, say something interesting that's happened in your life. Hey, what's a significant event that happened in your life? Name 3 significant events and how those events ended up changing your life. Tell me about a time that you encountered a conflict. Write the 3 biggest events. Where are you from? What are you doing? Why are you this? Anything about your life. Literally. Just anything about my life. The only reason I really dislike writing about these prompts is because I tend to go down this rabbit hole whenever this prompt is shown up. It's not that I don't want to write about me. It's not that I don't want people to know about me. It's just I don't like having to brainstorm to come up with any specific 3 events in my life, because then I just start thinking about everything and then my ADHD takes off and then I just begin this Google document of every single event that's ever happened in my life, which is actually what I started doing on Sunday. And I really, it's a big document. And it's like, what am I supposed to write about? Like, I'm not gonna like, it's not gonna be like, hey, name 2 events that were significant in your life. And I'm not gonna like write down, oh, when I found out my biological father shot himself before I was born, or like, oh, the time I tried to kill myself in middle school. Like, the professors know we're not gonna write about those prompts. And if we are going to, then by the time we're writing about them for a course, then we've already accepted them and it's already something that we've moved past. So what I usually end up writing about is like, oh, this one time I ordered like extra tomato on my sandwich, I take an extra tomato, or like, oh, this one time I got in a fight with my best friend, when really it's like, those are like some of the least significant things that have happened in my life. And I'm just tired of telling the same story over and over again. So when I get tired of telling the same story over and over again as my like prompt about what's different in my life compared to other people's, I start diving into other things that I don't want to write about. It's not that I don't want to open up to people, and it's not that I don't want people to know things about me. If I didn't want people to know things about me, there wouldn't be this channel. Like, that's, I'll flat out tell you, if I didn't want you to know about me, this would not exist. So the thing is I don't want it to turn into like this pity party of all the shit that's happened in Jade's life. Like, I've had a lot of shit happen. Like, I've honestly thought about writing a book since the day I hit 21. I was like, I've had enough shit happen that I can honestly write a book. And I've considered it multiple times, and I don't know how I'd go about that at all. And that's a really long process that I'm like not ready to try to start pushing. But I do think there's a lot of things that have happened in my life that I could write a book about it pretty easily. But the thing is I used to stop myself from talking about some things to people. Like, before I used to be like really open about it. And then I started realizing that when I opened up about these things, people would just automatically assume that we had like some form of deeper connection. Like, we were friends, yeah, but they'd like, all of them just assume that I was their best friend ever. They'll like freak out and they'll have this like empathetic moment. It's like, you don't need to do that. I've already done a lot of thinking about that. Like, we don't need to do that anymore. And then I stopped myself from like opening up to people about like the shit that's happened, because I just realized that people like took that as some type of social cue for some shit, when really I was just talking about things that have happened because I'm just super open. So instead of like directly telling people things that have happened in my life, I want to just generically tell people, instead of pinpointing the story at a single person and then like learning about me, being like, oh my god, this is something very significant and they've opened up to me about this. It's really just something generic. So I'm just gonna tell the general population, because it's the exact same story that I'm gonna tell. I don't leave out shit unless it's about other people. Then I'll leave out shit. And by other people, I mean certain people. When I would like tell them something deep and meaningful that had happened in my life, and then I ended it with like, oh, but that's like not really that significant, it just made me feel like an asshole, being like, hey, here's this really kind of emotional thing that happened, but me telling you this, I don't really care about you that much. I'm just letting you know. I just didn't want to do that anymore, so I just stopped telling all these stories. But the thing is I still want to tell those stories. I still want people to know. I just don't want that stigma attached to it, that if I'm going to tell you a story about something deep and meaningful about my life, that means that you're the best person ever in my life. Like, there's a lot of cool people, and I'm not telling you people who, I'm not telling the ones who have heard these stories that they're insignificant. The chances are, if I told you these stories, you're significant if I told you them before I put them on this video. If I didn't tell you them before I put them on this video, I probably just intended on you watching this video and finding out. So regardless, you're significant. I don't know what really made me want to say that. I have no clue at all, like why I had the impression that I needed to tell you guys that I hate writing about myself. I like interacting with people. Anyways, yeah, that was fucking rambly as fuck. So be sure to follow me on social media and shit. No, that was like that way. You want to go here. Sorry about that. And yeah, that's about all I got for you today. So toodaloo, I guess. I also have a project that I want to do, but you only get to hear that if you're listening after the video's over.